Tensions continue to rise in San Fierro as a big smoke cloud rapidly approaches the city, originating from the forest fire on Mount Chiliad. In response, citizens are frantically boarding the number 9 and number 45 buses bound for Los Santos in an attempt to escape, while the mayor is urging them to simply board the damn train instead, as there's considerably more space.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Before I start, I'd like to say that this game has a special place in my heart from my childhood, as it was one of the first games I ever played, and boy did I play the shit out of it. I used to hold in my piss for as long as I physically could when nature called, just so I could kill some more random grandmas wandering around Grove Street. So nostalgia is definitely a factor, and I want to be fully transparent about it. I am for sure biased from the nostalgia. For me, the best game in the GTA series so far. Yes, I said it, better than GTA 5. This video is about the original 2003 version of GTA San Andreas, not the new, lazy, heretic definitive edition. The fact that Rockstar removed the original version from the market is a travesty, and saddens me as a fan. The people who buy the new version will never experience the reason it became a cult classic. Just a shame, really. Let's start with a quick rundown of the wild and unpredictable storyline of GTA San Andreas. CJ returns to Los Santos after the death of his mother, only to find himself caught in a web of corrupt cops, gang violence, and betrayal. His family and gang are in disarray, and things get worse when his brother Sweet is arrested. CJ is forced to work for the corrupt Officer Tenpenny, who sends him on increasingly dangerous missions. From the countryside to the cities of San Fierro and Las Venturas, CJ builds his criminal empire, all while trying to free his brother and avenge his mother's death. The story concludes in a tense, action-packed finale, with CJ spanking the traitor Big Smoke and taking down Tenpenny in a dramatic car chase. The general plot is good. It's interesting, has great character development, changes locations multiple times so that it doesn't get stale, and Rockstar adds depth and color by introducing different types of new characters, which actually brings me to the next segment. Rockstar made some very nice changes in pretty much all aspects of the game after Vice City, but the one thing that they really mastered over the years in my opinion is the character design. They absolutely stacked San Andreas with iconic characters. Starting with CJ, a perfect example of a very likable main character.
Now I know you blind, man, but you gotta see this.
His personality and dialogue is written more neutrally compared to all the wacky NPCs in the game, but still has some personality to him, making him an ideal objective point of view for the player. In San Andreas, secondary characters are voiced by celebrities, while young Melee, who was basically unknown at the time, was chosen as CJ's voice. The developers thought his obscurity made CJ feel more human, which I completely agree with. His clothes and weight are customizable too, which helps the player relate to him. Paul's personality and context to the world around him sorta reminds me of Michael Bluth from Arrested Development, trying to make everything right as the only relatively normal member in a family full of crazies. Goated show, by the way. I absolutely recommend it to everyone who appreciates good witty comedy. Catalina, the cousin of Cesar Villalpando and later the antagonist of GTA 3, is a crazy Colombian woman who lives in a secluded shed in the countryside, hates men, and becomes romantically involved with CJ.
Just don't fucking shoot me, please!
I think I love you.
Shit, that's great.
They commit robberies before eventually breaking up because Carl is afraid of her, and he just wants the money from the robberies to free Sweet from prison. After they break up, Catalina starts calling CJ randomly throughout the game in an attempt to make him jealous. In the last phone call after the final mission of the game, she can be heard having sex with Claude, the protagonist of GTA 3. Wu Zimu, the Chinese-American blind leader of the Mountain Cloud Boys triads in San Fierro, has some of the funniest moments in the game.
What's wrong? You lost? You need a hand?
No. I was just, getting the feel of the place.
Being blind, his men usually let him win in everything, leading him to believe that he is blessed with good fortune, even being nicknamed the Lucky Mole.
She always wanted to pull a heist. What the?
He's peaceful, he's honorable, and a loyal friend to Carl to the end of the game, making him a truly enjoyable character. Tenpenny is the perfect antagonist based on the real-life corrupt LAPD crash officer, Rafael Perez, which actually also inspired Denzel Washington's character in the movie Training Day. This isn't written officially anywhere, but I also like to think that Tenpenny having a desperate, egomaniacal monologue before dying in the hood is a nod to Denzel's Oscar-winning scene in Training Day by Rockstar, which is pretty awesome. Big Smoke, the second antagonist of the game, is physically fat, which I like to think is deliberate and symbolizes his greed for luxury. I really like the foreshadowing and points in the plot that hint that he's a traitor. Have you ever questioned what Smoke is doing in the Johnson house when CJ returns to Grove Street unannounced? It's very likely that he was going to assassinate Sweet when he got back from Beverly's funeral. If you pay attention during the bicycle chase in the beginning, the Ballas only actually shoot CJ and Sweet. They don't shoot Ryder and Smoke. He's the only one in the main gang that doesn't live on Grove Street, and his famous comically big Cluckenbell order is there for a reason: to stall for the Balla gangbangers that showed up later for a drive-by, where curiously, Smoke has no intention of shooting them back. Instead, he just eats the food he ordered. Speaking of how Rockstar crafted iconic characters, the world they inhabit is just as rich and meticulously designed. The map is huge. There are 3 big cities with little settlements around them: Los Santos, based on Los Angeles, San Fierro, based on San Francisco, and Las Venturas, based on Las Vegas. Each city had unique artists assigned to them, which I think is an awesome decision by Rockstar, and it worked out great. All of them feel fresh and have their own vibe to them. Aside from the cities, there are places the storyline doesn't take you to at any point in the game, but it's still carefully crafted to make exploration exciting. The attention to detail is really generous considering the time it was developed in. The San Andreas world, in true GTA fashion, is sprinkled with satire and parody. Notice how I said sprinkled and not overflowing? Take notes, Saints Row. Billboards, posters, signs, radio segments, and business names that I think are worth mentioning in this video, such as Bing's Bongs, Autos, Smoky Dokie, Gelato Splatto, Transfender Body Swap Shop, Hard On, Hippie Lady, Hippie Art Shit, Nice Buns, Drive-Thru Confessions Church, Dick Sounds, We Take All 12 Inches, Locals Only, and also, how could I not mention, Welding and Weddings, because they sound similar. This approach of making the world satirical in its details, while keeping the somewhat more serious tone in the actual gameplay, saves it from making it feel like too much of a joke and branding the game as tone deaf or over the top. Take notes, Saints Row. Mechanics in San Andreas are a mixed bag. Flying missions, a nightmare. The hardest missions of the game for sure because of the plane controls and camera movement. Man, they really make you want to shoot your neighbor with a rocket launcher. Lots of players have difficulty completing Zero's missions, because almost all of them involve flying. I don't know, for me they weren't that hard, but I swear I almost went crazy trying to finish the last mission given by Torino. With it crashing on me randomly like 3 times too? I did not enjoy that. The shooting mechanics are decent. They feel finicky at times, but for the most part shooting's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Well, except sometimes when you want to shoot backwards you have to turn the whole character or else CJ will just shoot up in the air and it feels kinda off. I will say this though, I love driving in GTA San Andreas. There's even an active sub-community of San Andreas drifters and people doing bike stunts around the map in obscure locations. It's actually pretty wild how many layers this game has. I just really think driving in this game is underrated. It's far better than some games strictly about cars and racing. It's so enjoyable, especially with the radio blasting. I could just sit down after a long day, crack open a cold one or light up, and drive around San Andreas for hours listening to KDST and Radio X in a pimped out elegy. Perfection. Also, I don't know if this exactly falls under the mechanics, but I have to mention the animation of GTA San Andreas, the iconic hand movements. Some really funny stuff came from the earlier gaming days because of the technological limitations, and I actually miss the little funny unintended weird shit, because I think it adds to the personality of the game. In conclusion, the developers are real busted for making flying the planes a living hell and not putting in enough work in with the shooting, making the mechanics the most mediocre part of the game. This is an exciting subject for me. The sound design in this game is incredible and original, because I literally have never heard anything like this ping in any game before or after the release of San Andreas. But it sounds so fucking good, it's fucking crazy. This iconic Sanchez sound that I'd recognize randomly on the street if I heard it. The sniper sounds. The radio stations filled with completely absurd bits and the amazing selection of songs. You'll be in a car driving to some location on a mission and find yourself listening to the radio and waiting for the song or a bit to end to get out of the car. And the San Andreas soundtrack? Listen to this absolute masterpiece of a production. Apart from the side characters, every single NPC has around an hour of dialogue, breaking a Guinness World Record for the largest video game voice cast with 861 credited actors. The result is a game that feels like it values itself and its player. A game where each character's voice is as iconic as the landscape and gameplay, forever cementing San Andreas as a benchmark in video game voice acting and cinematic world building. GTA San Andreas has an exceptional community, still active after all these years, giving it the love and respect that it didn't receive from Rockstar. Videos are being uploaded constantly, mods are being made, discussions are being had, everything 20 years after the game's release. A developer's dream scenario and an achievement that should be recognized by Rockstar and maybe give something back to the community. But it seems like they don't really give a shit about San Andreas, which is wild, because it really does have a huge OG community that I'm sure would appreciate some attention. This video wouldn't even exist without them, specifically the modding community. You can find many different mods online being released to this day. The ones I used for this video will be in the description, including this one. This one goes hard. Of course, there's also the SAMP community, but that's a whole another can of worms to be opened another time. All I'm gonna say is that SAMP players are a different breed and leave it at that. So yeah, maybe San Andreas had some rough mechanics, but it really is a one of a kind. It has been a pleasure to work on this and pay homage to, I'd say, the most influential game in my life. My brother downloaded it on the family PC when we were kids, and I remember my mom would get mad at us for spending so much time on a game and would delete the shortcut to the game thinking she deleted it completely. So we'd go into the game files and start it up from there when she wasn't home or paying attention. Playing this masterpiece totally ignited a passion for gaming in me that still burns today. So thank you, big bro, and thank you for watching.